Hello and good morning. Welcome to Matcha Mornings with Diane. I am your host, Diane. I am a dancer, performing artist based in New York City, and welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things mindfulness, life in New York as a performing artist, creativity, art, and everything in between. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my podcast. Hello, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Matcha Mornings with Diane. Today I am recording this episode titled The Grief That Shaped Me. I am excited but also pretty terrified to record this episode because this is the first time that I'm actually sharing a big part of my story in depth and in a platform like this. But yeah, I'm also really excited to share with you just how this has definitely played into who I've become at this point and the person that I also continue to become, and how losing my mom at such an early age has definitely given me the courage to go after my dreams and love on a different level and really just go after the things that I truly want. So I hope that you guys get to enjoy this episode. And yeah, let's just see where this conversation takes me. Let me take a few more sips of my matcha. And while if you guys are watching this on video format, you can see that I am actually wearing a Land Before Time sweatshirt, and I feel like it's so fitting because especially in the first movie of Land Before Time, we do know that Littlefoot loses his mom from an earthquake, and I am talking about my mom in this episode. So I will definitely start with how it all began. I was actually still young when this all happened. My mom was always someone who was really sickly, and I think to me that alone was already something that I had to live with as a kid. But I think seeing her lie in a coma, it was definitely a different story, and I knew that this was going to change our lives in such a big way, and it was really going to test our faith. So I had actually just turned 15 when she had a heart attack and fell into a coma, and actually I feel like I have held on to this guilt for saw her when she was still well before she fell into a coma. I think we were actually in the middle of a little fight because obviously I was a teenager at that time. I had developed my teenage angst, as many of us do in our teenage years. And I think getting that call that night was definitely devastating. And we just really didn't know how to navigate life after that. And we didn't know what was going to be next. So it was something that we all had to deal with. And I think for me, I still had so many questions as the youngest in my family. I didn't know how to go about it. And I think it just really changed our dynamic as a family as well, because even though we, at least for most of my life, I was used to my mom getting sick, but this was definitely a different story because we didn't know if she was gonna come back from this. She had already survived many different illnesses. She was a breast cancer survivor. She suffered from pancreatitis that almost also, like cost her life. And yeah, I just didn't know how this was going to turn out. I don't think any of us knew how this was all going to pan out, because this was very new. And, when someone falls into a coma and when the doctors tell you that there's very minimal brain activity, the likelihood of this person waking up from it is very, very slim. And even if they wake up from it, you're not even sure if they will have the mental capabilities or the mental capacity to operate as the the human being that they've always known to be. And so I think being able to witness that in front of my face was a lot to take in, and especially at 15. I had actually just turned 15 the week before it happened. It was just my birthday. So it was really jarring, and it definitely shifted everything in our world, in my little teenage world, and still forming perspective as a teenager. And definitely our family dynamics. But even with how I approached my life in school, how I, actually saw my friendships, and just like thinking about what would my future look like now that my mom was incapacitated, and it was difficult to navigate that, especially in the first few years, the first few months. She, thankfully in the last few years of her life, she was able to breathe on her own. But she had 24/7 care. Reminded me and has shown me how fragile life is. The reality that, I don't want to sound so brutal, but the reality is we're all gonna die at some point. And so, this is just a reminder to really live our lives in the fullest and not be afraid to just really go after the things that we want, and to also, remember that life is so much more than what we can achieve. I think when you lose a parent that young, you are reminded that the small moments where you are truly present, it's not always about the grand things or the things that you have achieved. And it really lets you shift a lot of things. It lets you shift your priorities. In life, there are so many things that we want to do, so many things that we want to have, but at the end of it all, we won't be able to bring any of these with us to our deathbeds. So I think that's really where I found my courage to really go after what I want. And I always knew that I was an artist, I was a creative, and that is so uncommon in my family because I grew up in a Filipino Chinese household. And I think growing up Asian, just in general, we were probably encouraged to go after career paths that were quote unquote stable, something that had a lot more structure and stability. And so going for something creative and somewhat unstable just didn't feel like in the cards for me. And that was definitely the hard part. But I think that was one of the greatest gifts that my mom gave me, was her full support in me pursuing something so different from what was expected of me. I knew that I had to fight for it. I had to fight my way through pursuing something that I truly want and truly felt called to do. And I know that my mom would have wanted the same for me, because when I started dancing, and even before I started dancing, it was my mom who was always so supportive of me following my passions. And I remember how she told me then that she didn't mind if I actually didn't perform so well academically, because she knows that I seemed to be loving something else, and obviously that was dance, that was ballet. And she said, like, I want to do everything that I can to support you through this career, because I can see how much you want it. I don't think she had ever seen me really work so hard for something and just be so obsessed with something until sorry, my goodness, my laptop decided to lag halfway through this. Man, I don't even remember where I stopped, but okay, I'll just restart from, I think it started with with ballet. But yeah, I think that, for my mom, for her to be able to see her daughter be so happy with something and be so passionate about something, I think that also made her really happy. And so I think, as a mother, she knew that one of the best things that she can do for me as her daughter is to fully support me in what I'm truly passionate about and what I love doing. And yeah, for her, it was her first time to really see me love something that much when I was finally enrolled in a ballet school when I was 10 or 11. And yeah, I think that was also the time when I finally started to have a closer and deeper relationship with her, because she knew just how much I loved to dance, that I couldn't stop doing it. That I would still stretch at home, I would still practice what I had learned in class. And I do not recommend this, but I was even stretching in the shower. And she had to constantly remind me to not dance or stretch in the shower because, again, safety first. But yeah, it was then when she really had shown me her full support. And yeah, at that time, she was, at least in my perspective, she was the only one who truly supported me and truly understood the passion that I had for this dream of mine, and that is to pursue dance. And when she had that conversation with me about, being okay with not performing so well in school, being just an average student, it was a bit of a relief, because she knew that at the end of it all, there is something that I'm so passionate about that goes beyond the academics. And so, yeah, I think, losing her during my formative years, it was frightening. I didn't know what to do. I mean, of course, I'm so grateful that this has also brought our family a lot closer. It has made me closer to my siblings and, of course, my dad. And I have so much love and respect for my dad for even, taking on the role of my mom, because that's a hard one. And, even he knows that he couldn't ever replace that, because a mother's love is so different from your dad's. And yeah, it's so different when you're a woman being involved with your kids. But yeah, during those years, I have seen my dad step up, and that has also, I think, given me a deeper relationship with my dad as well. I feel like it is a kind of relationship that I wouldn't have been able to have earlier on, had that not happened, I mean, of course, it will always be something tragic, but at the same time, I think that's one of like the good things that came out of this traumatic experience. And yeah, I think we are all grateful for it, but you know, at the same time, of course, it's just different without my mom. But yeah, I think that is to say, you know, I think being a part of the bereaved children's club early on, you know, for me, it was like during my teenage years, my most formative years, it came as a double-edged sword, because I think a lot of people who have also lost a parent early in their lives, it will never be easy. It will never be easy. Losing a parent, no matter how old you are, will always be hard. But I think when you experience it so early in your life, it is both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because, you know, like at an early age, you get to see just how fragile life is. You are forced to understand what it's like to live fully and to really just go after what you want, because you know that life is relatively short, that we never know when our lives are up, and you know, we just have to make every single moment count. And I think that's what makes a lot of us who have lost a parent at such an early age really, really, really courageous and just persistent when it comes to going after what we truly want. And apart from that, I think it also just gives us a deeper understanding of love, what it means to live and what it means to be loved, and knowing that love is just really, I think, the essence of everything, the essence of our existence. It is the fabric of the universe, and to live is to really love. And the curse is, of course, I think we develop certain coping mechanisms when we are getting through such a tough experience. I think for me, because I have always been really brave, like that is something that my mom has always like reminded me of and has always applauded me on, is just like my bravery and how stubborn I am sometimes. But yeah, I feel like there's also that curse, because for me, I felt the need to grow up so quickly that even though I had the discipline to, of course, really perform and excel in school and even in dance, I think I just ended up taking life so seriously that it was hard for me, I think, to not even think about the consequences of everything that I do. I'm not saying to never think about consequences, but I think it almost felt like I was really living in survival mode for many years, and I was really just unconsciously operating on that level that I think I somehow ended up closing myself to the world, closing my heart, I think, because I was just really afraid of losing people that I love. And yeah, I think that is definitely the curse. It's, you know, like the trauma of having to deal with losing a parent and really just navigating all of that and not knowing where that's going to take you and how that's going to shape you. But again, it is still a blessing. So it is a double-edged like sword. But yeah, all that is to say is I am truly grateful that it has definitely cultivated this courage and this bravery in me. And yeah, just like my ability to love and to see people and to really just be able to cultivate a space for everyone to be themselves and for everyone to feel supported. I think it's also just like more recently that I have really found that calling in myself too, because I feel like sometimes with dance or like any kind of career that demands so much of you, it's so easy to get lost in it. It's so easy to think of just like me, that we forget that a big part of also filling ourselves up is to really be in our purpose and to see how we can serve the world. And that is also like something that my mom and my parents have always instilled in me. I am really fortunate that I grew up with very generous and loving and selfless parents. So it was already ingrained in me to really just like learn to lead with so much love and to be generous with, you know, with what I have and with what I can offer. And yeah, I think, you know, like a big part of me just really pursuing the path that I'm on right now is really led with that. It is really just really all about fulfilling my purpose here on earth and really just trying to live life to the fullest and knowing that love truly is the essence of all that we are. And when we lead with love, when we come from a place of love, then we are just like living a life that is filled with love. We are inviting all that is love into our lives. And so, yeah, honestly, I don't have a lot more to say about this at the moment, but yeah, I think for me now, I am just like really grateful that, you know, I know that my mom is still very much in me. I mean, of course, she will always be a big part of me. She will always be, because of course, like I wouldn't be here without her. But yeah, I obviously have days, because grief, you know, it's not something that you just like get over and completely heal from. It is a journey. And I know that sometimes people say it gets easier, but I think you just get stronger. And, you know, like dealing with this kind of grief in my teenage years has definitely made me a much stronger person. And I will always be grateful for that. And yeah, I'm just like really grateful to that as I navigate like through all of these transitions in my life. And, you know, during my hardest days, I'm thankful that I still get to talk to my mom in some way, even though she's not physically here anymore. Of course, there are some days that I just get sad, because, you know, like I don't have her with me physically anymore. And for me, that was always one of the unfair things about this is, you know, I lost her at such an early age, and at least my siblings had a bit more time with her because they are older than me. But, you know, being the youngest, of course, in our family, I'm the one who had the least time with her. And so, yeah, that is a little sad because she has already missed major milestones of mine in my life. And, you know, all the upcoming milestones in my life, she won't be here for it. But I am glad to know that in many ways she is still with me. I still feel her with me. And woo, I didn't think I was gonna cry. And yeah, during the hard times, I just really ask for her guidance and for her love. And yeah, I think that is still such a beautiful thing. It is painful, but it is also beautiful to know that even though she's no longer here with me, she is still very much alive within me and in the people around me. And yeah, I think I will always be reminded that, with any form of love that I come across in my life, I will always remember my mother, because I don't think there is a love that's as unconditional as a mother's love. So yeah, I think for me that will still, and it will always be my North Star, no matter where I head in this life. And yeah, as they say, grief is just love with nowhere to go. But I think in the past few years, I have learned that for me, really pursuing what I truly want, being able to create, being able to dance, that is me being able to pour the love that I wish I could give my mom back. And I know that the love that she has for me is always going to be here. It is infinite, and nothing can ever destroy that. So, yeah. If you have made it this far into this episode, I really want to thank you guys. I thank you for giving me the space to really just share this part of myself. And yeah, I hope that in some ways this can also inspire you. And if you're like me, who's also lost a parent at such an early age, I see you. I am sending you so much love, and I truly respect you. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. And yeah, well, before I go, I guess my final message is, to just remember that life is so fragile. Life is short, and I'm not saying that we should always be rushing through things. In fact, I think this is an opportunity for us to really just be so present and to remind ourselves that things don't always have to be so serious, and there's so much more to life than just our achievements. It is truly in our relationships, I think, that life gets to be its most abundant and fullest. And yeah, to just really cherish the people around you, and to not be afraid to open your heart to the world, and to also just find the courage to really go after what you want, even if it seems a little delusional right now to some people. What matters is that you truly want it, and it is your deepest desire, and I think that's all that matters. And remember that the most aligned people too will always support you no matter what you do in this life. So I just hope that this also gives you the courage to really just live life to the fullest. Thank you.